This is Bobby Lashley, and you're watching InYourHeadOnline.com.
Welcome to the station of decapitation without your head. I'm Nasty Neil, and I'm joined by actor, pro wrestler, Senor, John Hennigan, formerly known as John Morrison, Johnny Nitro, and also known as Johnny Mundo, Johnny Impact, and Salty the Sack Johnson. How you doing?
Salty kind of blew it, man. I was the wrestler with the most John-based ring names in history. I was really kind of going down that John-based ring name thing until Salty came up, which is kind of cool because Salty the Sack Johnson might be the best wrestling name in history.
I love it. It's pretty sweet. Do you know if there's any history to that name, like where it came from?
I believe it was a creation of the writers of the new G.L.O.W show on Netflix.
Uh-huh.
I think it was inspired as like a throwback to goofy 80s wrestling gimmicks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't know maybe if it actually there was a Salty the Sack or someone similar to Salty.
I feel like in wrestling somewhere sometime there had to have been a Salty the Sack. Don't you think?
I think so. If not,
well, if not, there should be.
Exactly. Uh-huh. So, Never Leave It Live is your newest movie, and for people who aren't aware, can you give them an idea what it's about?
Yeah. So, Never Leave It Live is a retelling of that story, The Most Dangerous Game. Basically, it's a twist on it where people are marooned on an island and then they are hunted. The movie is a really small movie, and I learned a lot while I was shooting it. The other actors in the movie, Eric Bana, Joseph Gatt, Michelle Taylor. It was a really like a small ensemble cast. I learned a lot from Eric and Joe. It was one of the first things that I did when I left WWE, and it felt really rewarding because it was such a small budget that everybody was there like every day. We all did our own stunts every night. We improvised lines and tried to figure out what we were going to shoot the next day. And I feel like what we did was I don't know, something that I'm really proud of, and it came out really well. It was like acting school for me. It was a great learning experience.
Mm-hmm. So you said it was one of the first things you did since you left WWE. So did you start on this a while ago?
Oh yeah, we shot this in like 2013.
So why did it take so long for it to get released?
I'm not sure. I've done a lot of projects as a producer, and in this one, I was just purely actor. And I'm friends with the producers and the directors, and I think they went through a bunch of cuts, and they, I don't know, movies take a long time. I went through the same thing when I was finishing Boo and the Bounty Hunter. I actually learned a lot from Never Leave Alive that I applied to Boo and the Bounty Hunter when I was writing, producing, and making that movie.
Yeah. When you say that, like you learned a lot, what were some of the things that you didn't expect going into movies?
I think one thing that I was a little spoiled by in wrestling was the adrenaline and the ability to do something crazy only once,
right?
Stunt-wise and action scene-wise.
Uh-huh.
So if in wrestling you get the crowd cheering, you can kind of take some of their energy, and it gives you some more guts than you might have otherwise to pull off like a crazy back full off of a guardrail or do a side flip off the rope, whatever. But in movies, you got to do that crazy move over and over again from different angles, and it's the adrenaline goes away.
Right, if you don't have that immediate response.
Yeah, and if you're also doing like take 6 of some kind of like a stunt in the fight with me and Joe, like the 6th time you're hitting the ground with no mats on the mountain, you're like, oh shit. Like the first couple, like I was pretty pumped up, and now I'm just kind of getting beat up.
Yeah. I know the Hardy Boys had mentioned a thing called like the bump card before. Doing both movies and wrestling at the same time. Does that double up the bump card, or do you have to take extra precautions?
Oh yeah, you punch your bump card up real quick. In wrestling, you call them bumps. In movies, stunt guys call it wrecks. bumps equal wrecks. It's pretty much the same thing. Your bump card in wrestling and your wreck card in movies. But yeah, you only got so many bumps on that card, and for sure, yeah, you punch it out quick when you do them both.
Yeah. Do you think is there anything from wrestling that helped you in the movies?
Big time. I mean, both at the when you boil down wrestling and movies, either one, it's really storytelling, right? And entertainment. So really, like, if you just completely simplify entertainment, the point of it is to feel something. That's why you watch it. That's why I watched wrestling. That's why I watch movies, is to feel something, some kind of emotion. So when you're wrestling, your job is to make people feel something. And it doesn't have to be the same thing. It could be anger. It could be excitement. It could be stoked. It could be the pleasure from learning something from the characters. It could be any of those things. But storytelling ultimately is kind of the same, because you have to figure out a way to tell a story in the ring if you're wrestling, or within the scenes and within the narrative of a TV show or film, if it's a TV show or film, that can make the person watching feel something.
So has acting helped you in wrestling too?
Oh yeah, vice versa, man. Like I feel like acting is a lot more nuanced and small. Wrestling is a lot bigger, because you're emoting in wrestling for
like an arena. Yeah.
Sometimes, yeah, an arena, like people that are far away from you. And now if you're acting a scene, and the camera's at a close up, you look really stupid really fast if you overact. If I try to do the kind of things that I would do in a wrestling match on a film, everyone's like, what the fuck is wrong with that guy? He's making weird faces and growling and screaming. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Yeah, they're similar but distinctly different.
Yeah. Back to when you said this was one of the first things you did when you left WWE. Now you left WWE. You weren't like you weren't fired, right?
Right. Yeah, we just didn't come to terms. I let my contract run out.
Yeah.
And, I originally left because I wanted to get into movies. I was a film major in college, and I'd been writing movies. Still have a bunch that I'm writing. I was working on a movie last night, just beating it out. But that was the main reason that I left. I just wanted, and I also only planned to leave for like a year or two, and it just kind of turned into 6 years, and now I've got this crazy independent wrestling career where I'm Johnny Mundo on Lucha Underground and Johnny Impact on Impact Wrestling, and both of those places things are going really well. I'm champion of AAA. I'm going back there on November 19th to defend the World Championship against Dr. Wagner and Juarez. Independent wrestling is crazy right now. It's a really good time to be a wrestler.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask, because I think some people think either if they leave WWE willingly or if they're fired or whatever, it's kind of like the end. But seems like you're doing all kinds of things. And were you scared at all when you first left that you wouldn't be able to, find something else to do?
Luckily for me, when I first left, I was so overconfident that I wasn't that afraid.
Right.
I mean, I left. Here's the thing to put it in perspective. When I left, I worked on Boone, and I wrote Boone as a $10 million action movie, the first draft. I thought I was going to get the money and shoot it in like 6 months. I've documented on plenty of podcasts and interviews about how that went. That movie took a lot longer and ended up getting made for a lot less. This movie was an extremely low budget. So I didn't leave WWE and walk on to the set of a Marvel movie.
Right.
It's like I left WWE at the really high level in wrestling and walked into the world of acting and started at the bottom. And it's kind of cool in some ways if you think about it, because pretty much anywhere you look, incremental work at anything, wrestling, acting, any kind of job or sport activity, leads to slowly mastering the craft. Unless you're you step in shit and you win the lottery or something. And I had a golden ticket in wrestling that my career took off really quickly, but it didn't happen that way for me with acting and movies. It's been tough. And I feel like now I'm finally in a spot where I'm confident in what I do on set. I understand what my job is as an actor when you walk on set. And this movie, Never Leave Alive, was a big part of my process.
You mentioned that you learned a lot from Eric, who plays the villain Zaroff, who has a sweet accent. I have to add. What were some of the things you say you would learn working with like a veteran actor?
One thing that I took away from Eric that was cool was like so on sets, like everyone's nice to everybody, especially on a project like this because it's a small movie and nobody's getting paid $1 million. Everyone's taking cuts in their pay and working hard, working overtime. And Eric was nice to everybody, but in between takes, I was kind of excited to be there. I was like talking to the director, the AD, and like looking at the cameras and figuring stuff out. And he kind of advised me to, while we're shooting scenes, not to expend my energy outside in between takes because you need that for the takes and for the scenes. And when I started watching what he did, it made a lot of sense. Like when we did a take, he was on. When we're in between or they're repositioning camera, doing a new setup, he'd go somewhere and kind of get in his own world and think about what he was gonna say. How like he would do his acting shit, but he would not expend a bunch of energy, so that when we were back, he had all that energy built up and he knew what he was going to say, how he was going to say it, so he could deliver every time. That I think is something that I started doing later in this project and in other projects that has affected me for the better. You don't have to be bubbly and loud the whole time. Everyone's nice to everybody. But sometimes, especially in emotional scenes, it's important to not expend your energy when you're not shooting your scene because you need it for the takes. That's one example. There's a ton of stuff.
Yeah. Where was the movie filmed? And was it? It seemed like it was real environments, not like sets.
Yeah, we shot the whole thing up in Big Bear. There was definitely no sound stages or sets.
Right.
It was all out in like the wilderness of Big Bear.
What's that like? Are there positives and negatives to that? I assume like you could get into the role better, but is there anything dangerous about filming in the environment?
Well, I mean, I guess we could start with the negatives. The bad news first. It's less comfortable, especially in a low budget film. I mean, if we're hiking into the woods like a mile to get clear of like cabins and power lines, that means the cast and crew is carrying all your shit like a hike for 15 minutes. Then when you get there, on a movie like Never Leave Alive, there's no facilities really. You don't have a trailer or an air conditioned room to sit and relax in. Like when you're not shooting, you're sitting on pine needles and putting your feet up on rocks. But you're right. Like the positives are that in a natural environment, it does feel more real, and you can discover stuff that you might not feel on a soundstage. Just sights and smells and things that are genuine and authentic to the environment. The other thing that I like is there's sometimes when I'm shooting and it's on location, and I'm not a morning person, but for this movie and for lots of things, your call time is like 5 a.m. or something, and you're pissed because you wake up 4:30, drag yourself to wardrobe, you put your shit on, and you go, and you hike up this mountain, and when you get up there and the sun rises, you're like, you know what, like, I'm tired, but this is pretty cool. There's like no time in my real life outside of times like this where I would be watching the sunrise on a mountain in Big Bear. And that sounds a little cheesy, but it is pretty cool.
Yeah, no, that sounds sweet. And by the way, the movie comes out Friday from Wild Eye Releasing. And we get a lot of questions here on Facebook, so I'm going to try to get to a few of them. Bruce Briscoe wants to know, will you be back for the next season of Lucha Underground?
Yeah, absolutely. Season 4 just got announced a few days ago. I'm really excited. Everybody's excited about Season 4. We're going to stay on the LA network. We haven't announced when we're going to start taping and when it's going to start airing, but I'm going to be back for sure. A lot of the guys that you know and love, PJ Black, Taya, Pentagon, Phoenix, all them and more. There's a lot of people that are going to be back for Season 4. It's going to be really rad.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of Lucha Underground. It's totally unique. I think it's the first like true alternative wrestling in a long time.
Completely agreed.
Johnny Cerulo wants to know, marked out for your appearance in G.L.O.W. Do you think there are other wrestling-related stories that can be told in an interesting and positive light, like G.L.O.W. as opposed to a darker and more brooding ones like The Wrestler?
Yeah, definitely. And it's pretty cool that G.L.O.W. happened, because a lot of times when I do interviews or people talk about wrestling, they center around the stories like The Wrestler, or like problems wrestlers have after they leave the limelight. But you can forget about how rad it is, and it's cool to see a story like G.L.O.W., because G.L.O.W. is just super fun. It's a fun show, and it's not a superficial fun show. It's fun because you invest in the characters, and you're following the characters almost more than you're stoked about the wrestling parts of the show.
Mm-hmm.
That exists in plenty of other places, and it's ultimately I don't know, someone with a big bank account's decision to greenlight something like that or not.
Yeah. Were you a fan of the original G.L.O.W.?
Yeah, I was a fan of the original G.L.O.W. somewhat. I can't say I watched it growing up, but
yeah,
I was trained by Ivory, aka Tina Ferrari, and when I found out that she was on G.L.O.W., I went back and watched some of the old episodes so I could see her do her thing way back in the day. And I don't know, I thought it was rad back then, and I was a fan of it to that extent, and I'm a huge fan of G.L.O.W. on Netflix.
Mm-hmm. Will you be back? Will Salty be back at any time?
Man, if they know what's good for them, they'll bring Salty back.
Exactly.
I don't know. I hope so. I had a good time with everybody, and I feel like me, cast, crew, and producers all got along. And if it makes sense, I'm sure they'll bring Salty back, and if not, they won't.
Yeah. I'll get one more here. Paul Necro Wright wants to know, after being showcased in the WWE, Lucha Underground, AAA, and now Impact, have you thought about giving New Japan Pro Wrestling or Ring of Honor a run?
Yeah, man, I'm a wrestler. Wrestlers talk about that stuff all the time. Both those places would be great. Actually, literally those two places are like the two main companies that I have yet to work for. And yeah, so if you guys are listening, Ring of Honor, New Japan, sign me up.
Exactly. And I was probably
first, but
yeah. One more here, because this is a very interesting question. Andrew Barbarash wants to know, if you were forced to lose one, which would you sacrifice? Your abs or your hair?
Ooh, that's a good one. Well, I'm getting married on June 1st to Taya, and I was planning on losing both after that happens. Know what I'm talking about?
Right.
Too late to get away after that.
Well, congratulations on that. By the way, how can you follow yourself online?
You can follow me on Twitter at @TheRealMorrison. You can follow me on Instagram at John Hennigan, the shoot name. And you can follow or like my Facebook page, John Morrison, the one with the blue check. There's a lot of fakes. I post a lot about Boone. So if I'm posting a lot about Boone, that's probably the real me. And make sure to check out Boone the Bounty Hunter and Never Leave Alive, both available on VOD. And Boone's available on DVD at Walmart, Dollar General, and Amazon.
Very cool. Well, I appreciate you coming on. It's been a lot of fun.
Thanks for having me, bro.
Yeah. And I know you got a lot of stuff coming out, so maybe we'll have you back sometime, especially if you have a horror movie coming up.
Oh, dude, like, we don't have enough time to talk about it now, but the thing that I'm writing now is perfect. It's a horror wrestling movie. We'll talk about it down the line.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks, man.
All right, man. Take care.
Yep. You too. Bye.
Okay, bye.
This is the King of Small Style Swoggle here. You're listening to the In Your Head Show.